Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A potential COVID-19 vaccine in the UK has produced a strong immune response in older adults, giving hope it may protect some of those most vulnerable to the disease. Developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University, data from mid-stage trials suggest that people over 70 years old could build robust immunity to the disease. This means the most vulnerable category of the disease would be protected by the vaccine. Late-stage trials are ongoing to confirm the findings and to test whether the vaccine protects against infection with the coronavirus in a broad range of people, including people with underlying health conditions. Ethiopia's army chief has accused the head of the World Health Organization of lobbying in favor of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, which is fighting federal troops. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, chief of the World Health Organization, is Tigrayan and was health minister in the previous Ethiopian government, which was led by the TPLF. General Birhanu Jula, Ethiopia's army chief, declared in a press conference that Dr. Tedros had left no stone unturned to support the TPLF and help get them weapons, but did not provide any evidence. Meanwhile, the UN's refugee agency warns that a full-scale humanitarian crisis is unfolding. More than 30,000 people have crossed the border from Ethiopia into Sudan so far. There is credible evidence that Australian elite soldiers unlawfully killed 39 people during the Afghan war. That's according to a new report from the Australian Defence Force.
23 incidents.
The report said 19 current or ex-Special Forces soldiers should be investigated by police officers over the killings of prisoners, farmers or civilians in the period of 2009 to 2013. The authors blamed crimes on unchecked warrior culture among some soldiers, finding evidence of unlawful killings of prisoners in cold blood, planting evidence to justify those deaths, and unnecessary cruel treatments judged as war crimes. Australia has had forces in Afghanistan since 2002, following the overthrow of the Taliban as part of a US-led coalition. At least 30 people have lost their lives as the strongest Atlantic hurricane of the year, Hurricane Iota, rips through areas of Central America. Tens of thousands were forced to flee their homes as Hurricane Iota hit Nicaragua and neighbouring countries. The rainfall is expected to cause mudslides and potentially deadly flash flooding and river flooding. Winds of 257 kilometres an hour have hit areas still recovering from Eta, a major hurricane that hit 2 weeks ago. Deaths were recorded in Nicaragua, Honduras, Colombia, Panama and El Salvador, forcing hundreds of thousands of people to flee their homes. Burkina Faso goes to the polls on Sunday to vote in nationwide elections amid a violent Islamist insurgency that's left parts of the north and centre of the country ungovernable. 5 years after President Roch Kabore was elected in 2015, more than 1 million people have been displaced by the violence. That's according to the United Nations. All 12 candidates standing for election have put peace and security at the heart of their message. Thousands of voters will be unable to vote in this election because of the violence. The president of the Electoral Commission said 15 districts were too dangerous to set up polling stations and 860 villages are inaccessible. There are also concerns about voters in camps who lost their electoral cards whilst fleeing their homes, who also won't be able to vote. And finally, you may not associate complex surgery with the sound of music, but that's exactly what a 10-year-old boy in Italy has experienced. Head of the neurosurgery department, Dr. Roberto Trignani, led a team at a hospital in Ancona that removed a double tumour in the spinal cord of the child. As the operation was underway, molecular biologist Emiliano Tosso played on a grand piano in the operating theatre at a particular frequency recognised to have a therapeutic benefit for the body. The team watched electrical activity in the brain through monitors during the 4-hour operation and said they could see a change in activity when the music was interrupted, leading them to believe the music was perceived by the patient. Doctors say the patient is currently doing well, but further tests are needed to see if another operation is required. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.